something kind of came up, some discussion I was having with the person that I thought I would kind of address tonight. So up on your screen there's an image. For those of you who are in the room, there's an image here of two people rowing a boat. Both of them are going in opposite directions. And I've started this discussion with a quote, maybe one of my all-time favorite quotes from Rudi. It says, "Tension is always the expression of limitation. Surrendering is the expression of ability." Let's say that again. Tension is always the expression of limitation. Surrendering is the expression of ability. And it goes on to say in this cute little image, it says, "Saying that we are living in stillness and surrender, but acting out of fear and the need to control, does not happen at the same time. They are polar opposites. Opposites polar are they." That's what it says, see. I think it's very important that we really understand that we are not separate from our consciousness. We're not separate from our practice. I perpetually get emails from people, "Oh, I saw the blue light and I saw the white light and it came in the left ear and went out that orifice, and it's all one, it's all divine love." And usually in the same email, if not the second email, then there's this discussion about how horrible life is and this problem and that nonsense and this tension and that drama. And I have to, that's why I have no hair, because I keep like pulling my hair out. That we can somehow think that we can have this profound divine experience and not be able to open our eyes and express that divine experience. Frankly, it's masturbation if we can't. The purpose of our inner work, the purpose of our sadhana, let's say it, the purpose of our practice, particularly our meditation, when we've closed our eyes and we have internalized our mind, when we've internalized our life force, when we've internalized our awareness, and directed that to the source of all that. And yes, what happens when we see the blue light, or the yellow one, or whatever color it happens to show up for you, that is the connecting point. That sense of oneness is because we've taken this experience of two-ness, this experience of us projecting ourselves outside, and we've reconnected it to itself. That would be the experience of oneness. It's not that or this, it is that connection, that dynamic interaction with itself. And so that is the point of meditation. It is the point of our sadhana, to perpetually internalize our awareness. And so you've heard me use the term, there's a beautiful, it's a term, it's also a meditation called Bhairava Mudra. Bhairava is the form of Shiva who knows himself as all things. It's one of the simplest ways of describing who Bhairava is. The mudra is called Bhairava Mudra, inner focus, external gaze. It happens through the center of the head, by the way. The internal focus, so that as we come in contact with that, the space in the center of the head and we open our eyes, it is from that place that the external gaze is taking place. Now, okay, we can all huff and puff and, oh yeah, I have that, yeah, I feel it, and this and that. I want you to understand that you can also understand this as the internal awareness and the external expression. Whatever we are expressing in the world, whatever comes out of our mouth, whatever ping pong that's going on in our mind, whatever big drama we want to create, whatever attack on the people we say we love, if that's what we're expressing, that is the reality of our own inner awareness. We have not made contact with that deep stillness inside. And at the same time, to use Rudi's, these guys keep moving in. Okay, well, Rudi on the right, Nichiren on the left. The test of your life, the test of your practice, the test of your day, the test of your moment is whether you can make contact with that internal awareness and express it when you engage the world. Otherwise, it is not real. Now look, we all flub, right? We all make mistakes. We all lose contact with ourselves. This is fine. We don't beat ourselves up. Ours is not a caravan of despair. It's not mea culpa, with the chains. That's a whole different trip. But you have to have the courage, you have to have the strength to look at your day by day, go back, read your journals for the last 90 days, and look at how many times we somehow made some deeper contact in ourselves and then opened our eyes and became a screaming demon. Blew all that, attacked people with that very love and oneness that we find, that we turn into a sledgehammer and bludgeon the people we love and our own lives. And we sabotage our own life because we're not willing to just shut the fuck up, to stay quiet. You cannot say, I find that stillness, and not be able to express that stillness by not talking when you shouldn't talk, by not projecting when you shouldn't project, by not using your will when you should not use your will. Recently, I've kind of given a few people what some of you may know, and many of you, I'm sure, have done the practice. I've given this 108-day wearing God's mala seva practice. And it has a singular intent, and that is to free us from action, to free us from mind, and to free us from will. Freeing ourselves from action means we don't talk when we should not talk. We don't project when we should not project. That shit happens. The mind happens. All this, the fluctuation of our consciousness happens. But have the courage and have the discipline to not act when you're in that turbulence. Just take a breath. And if it creates a little internal fire, be grateful. Because the internal fire will do what? Burn up tensions, burn up limitation. Free us from the very need to act from tension. This is what Rudi is saying. Surrendering is the expression of ability. What is the ability? The ability to remain open at all cost. And to surrender our own limited understanding. To surrender the tensions that come up from that limited understanding. And we just bulldoze our lives so many times because we have no discipline. We have no willingness to be disciplined. So when we talk about the progression of our sadhana, the fundamental discipline is the capacity to do. Work, 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 work. This is what Rudi told us. What is he talking about? He's talking about the work of internalizing ourselves and remaining internalized when everything around us is trying to externalize us. Or at least we project, well, that's happening to me and this is happening to me, and so I need to react and I need to attack and I need to do this. We are not separate from our consciousness. We cannot somehow project ourselves as some divine being living in pure stillness and surrender and act like crazy people. And it is an iterative process of being willing to surrender the tendency to externalize, so that energy, instead of as we start to regurgitate it, then we take a breath and draw it back in ourselves. And what are we doing when that happens? We are taking the strength of that externalized energy that we're about to kind of blow our life apart with, and turning it back inside and opening up and strengthening our capacity to be internalized. And until we, each of us, develop that fundamental capacity to live in that state of internalized surrender and to express that in the world, then we are perpetuating duality in our own existence. This is my experience when I'm all quiet and it's all groovy and it's quiet, the birds are singing. And this is my experience when I'm engaged in my own self, in my own life, in my own tensions, in my own mind. So anybody that wants can just email me and I'll give you the 108-day practice, because I'm sure you've all done it at least once, but maybe it's time to do it again. Think carefully about what is it that you really want in this life. Not what you say you want, because what you have in your life, your experience in this life, is what you really want. You want to be open, you be open. You want to be tense, you be tense. And I'm not denying that there is sometimes effort and some struggle to balance that dynamic. You know, it was Nityananda's called 60th anniversary of his samadhi on the 5th or the 8th, depending on what side of the world you're on, which is lunar or occidental calendar. And it seems like every year that it comes up, well, not his 60th, but every year his samadhi day comes up, you see this story that as he was passing away, the last few days of his life, that he kept saying over and over again, if only 3 wanted what I have to give, then I'll stay. Well, he left. This is a person who saw tens of thousands of people. He stated that his only heartbreak, how could Nityananda have a heartbreak? Except what he said was his only heartbreak was that what people came to him for was not to be free, but to get something. Tell me the lottery number. Right. Now, on one hand, you can understand that the early 1900s, 1960, he died in 1961, that people in India live with a lot of struggle just to be alive. But he was careful to say, it's not the people who come and say, I need some food. It was the other 10,000 people a day that came and said, tell me the lottery number, right? That we miss the point of our life because we're busy chasing it. And the very things that we believe we need in order to be happy, to be complete, are the very things that are preventing us from being happy and complete. It has to be, because essential in that is the misunderstanding that I need something to be complete. And the things that we need to be complete are like rabbits. It's 1, and then it's 2, and then it's 3, and then it's 4, and then it's 200. And then it's a different partner, and a different job, and a different life, and a different this, right? We are not separate from our consciousness, and we must, if we truly want to know the truth in life, be willing to surrender what we think we know and allow what's the truth to reveal itself. And sports fans, that happens in one place: surrender. And surrender doesn't happen later. I could have had a V8. Okay, fine. After too many times hitting yourself in the head, you have a concussion. You have no capacity to function. The point is, yes, I'm not suggesting we miss, right? Got our arrow out, shoot our arrow, and we miss sometimes. Fine, no issue there. That's why we practice. There was a person that practiced with me for a while. And he studied Kudo. Kudo is Japanese archery. And it's this gigantic tall bow. And the first 7 years of the practice is drawing the bow without an arrow in it. First 7 years, keeping your eye on the target, which happens to be about 8 feet away from you, not 200 feet. Just learning to draw back past the tension to a point of stillness. That's the first 7 years of that practice. How many people do you think last through the 7 years? Then they give you an arrow. Right? And then you spend a number of years drawing it back with the arrow. You don't get to release the arrow. They are training the capacity for absolute stillness. That still point, when you know it's there. And then, ultimately, they say, okay, Johnny Brown, now you can shoot that arrow, and the target's literally about 4 feet away. And what's amazing, as I read this little story about it, is about 90% of the people can't hit the target 4 feet away. Even though they spent years and years, right? Go ahead. Go inside and do it. He's a little sick to his stomach, right? If someone who wants to become a master at, okay, you can pay attention up here now. At Kudo is willing to spend that much time, develop that much discipline. Perhaps it suggests to us the amount of time and discipline and courage and surrender that it takes for us to find that absolute still point of surrender in ourselves and to be absorbed by that still point. This is the point of your sadhana. And while you may have to get over your bad self, you may have to digest some tensions, you may have to free yourself from some karma, you may have to free yourself from some vasanas, latent impression. It's just all part of the stew. Keep your eye on what you're really trying to do in your practice, which is not to get over your tensions. While that happens, if you focus on getting over your tensions, you'll just keep getting over your tensions. And yet at the same time, the way we free ourselves from tension is to not act on them. You see, it's a little bit of a circular conversation. I could go on all night, right? And I may, because nobody's going to turn that camera off, so. Be truly thoughtful. Have some profound introspection about what the purpose of your life is. And then express that purpose in your day.